So yeah, I have been telling you that there is head complement rule which takes head daughter and complements, and whatever is given as complements have to combine with the head daughter. Only then the comps list becomes empty and that becomes a phrase. Then a phrase can consist of a lexicolate followed by all its complements. This is for English. If we take it for other languages, like for Indian languages, the complements will precede the head, right? So this, what we are seeing, is only for English now. But in general, what we can say is complements can either precede or follow. That's a general grammar or a universal grammar. Then when you see head specifier, the second rule is a head specifier rule, which says that there is a specifier and the head daughter. Head daughter follows the specifier daughter, or you say specifier daughter precedes the head daughter. This is also headed rule, like your head complement rule. And whatever is specified or given in the specifier as a list should combine with the head daughter. Only then the phrase is satisfied and that is complete. When the empty list and when the specified list is empty. So here what we are saying is a phrasal head is preceded by its specifier for English. Then the third rule is head modifier rule. Head modifier rule says that there should be a head daughter and then a modifier. Modifier can be an adverb or an adjective or a prepositional phrase sometimes which modifies. But what we need is there should be a feature modified which says that it can modify either a noun or it can modify a verb or a verb phrase or an S. Depending on the modifier, it combines with that head daughter. So this head daughter may be a noun or a verb phrase or an S. There can be a sentential adverbial, then you have it is an S. So when these two combine, you get a phrase. So whatever phrase you have here, the same phrase appears here. If it is S, this becomes S, and if this is an NP, this becomes an NP. If this is a VP, and this will be a VP, and there is no change in the complements and the specifiers with the head modifier rule. So a phrase can consist of a phrasal head followed by a compatible modifier phrase for English. There may be a language which can have modifier on the other side too. The fourth rule we have seen is coordination rule. Coordination rule is a non-headed rule, right? There is no head as such, we say. But what we see here is we are trying to make it a kind of head rule where you have conjunction looks like a head, but it is a word which tells that it needs certain arguments. The arguments are S1 to Sn, and S1 to Sn minus 1 are precede the conjunction, and only Sn follows the conjunction. This is for English again, right? And the index value is S0, which is actually taken from which actually gives the value for index of the phrase. Whatever index you have for the conjunction, that is the index for the phrase too. So there is no change, that we need to remember. And we are mentioning it is S0 or SO, whatever. We say that whatever category is all the conjuncts are, the same category the phrase is also. So if the categories, if the conjuncts are NPs, then the entire phrase is an NP. If the conjuncts are different sentences, then the coordinate NP, a coordinate phrase, is also a sentence. So any number of occurrence of elements of the same syntactic category can be conjoined to make a coordinate element of that category. right? We are not limiting. That's why we are saying S1 to Sn. There is no limit on the number of conjuncts, but all the conjuncts belong to the same category. That's the restriction. And also the category which forms out of all the conjuncts is also belongs to the same category. These are the rules. And we have lexicon. In the lexicon we have lexical items, and each lexical item will have a particular structure. That lexical entry will have omega and delta, where you have word and its feature structure. Word and its feature structure. And then that word projects a phrase. Projects a phrase. This is a word structure. So, lexical entry, if you have a lexical entry, omega and delta, just in case F or the phrase satisfies delta, that is whatever feature structure you have, that is satisfied by this. That is, if you have a complement specified in your feature structure for the word, then this should satisfy that. That means there should be a complement attached to this, only then this phrase, this F is satisfied. So the word and its feature structure is important. That's what we call lexical satisfaction. Then you also have well-formed tree structure. Well-formed tree structure is where you have well-formed tree structure, just in case every local subtree in the satisfies lexical entry or some grammar rule row. Okay, what we are saying is you have a lexical entry where you have some structure. This is a local structure, and such structures combine together to form a well-formed tree only when all the feature structures of the word are satisfied by the local structure, and local structures, when the local structure is satisfied, they combine to form a tree by these rules. That's what we are saying. Okay, that is a well-formed tree structure. We will see when we take an example of all these things. Then we have seen principles. One is semantic compositionality principle, where we said all the restriction values of the words, restriction values you find in the semantics, right? For each word we have a SYN-SEM structure. SYN-SEM structure is SYN for syntax, SEM for semantics. In the semantics feature structure, we have restrictions. Restrictions are those conditions or constraints on the lexical meaning, right? So the word's meanings are given basically in terms of restrictions. So if you take a tree, and the tree consists of several daughters, and each daughter has particular restrictions. When you put together all those restrictions, that is the restriction of the mother node or the phrasal node. So you have NP here, then you have an N here, or N here, and determiner here. Then N's restriction, determines restriction together forms your restriction value of the NP, right? That is the semantic compositionality principle. And composition, that is basically what we are saying is the sum of all restriction values is the restriction value of the mother node, and the sum is specified by your plus symbol. Then you have head feature principle, which is basically for your syntax. This applies for headed rules. If there is no head, you cannot apply head feature principle. So there is a head daughter, and whatever head value you have for the head daughter is given to the mother node, the head value of the mother node. So head value of the daughter node, head value of the head daughter node, and head value of the mother node are identical. That's what we are saying, and we are keeping on both sides because this is a general rule, not really for English. So you can have complements on this side or complements on this side, right? Or you may have specifiers on this side or specifiers on this side. But what we are interested in here is only the head value. That's what given by head feature principle. Let's look at next semantic principle, semantic inheritance principle. This is also for headed data. You can see that delta H given. This headed data. In the sem value, we remember I told you sem structure for each word, and in the sem structure we have two features in addition to restriction feature. The other two features are mode and index. Mode is specifies your proposition, question, directive, etc. So the semantic inheritance principle says the mode and index values of headed data and the mother node are same or identical. So how is it identical? That means what we are saying is the value, these values, mode value and index value, percolate to the mother node. That's what we call inheritance. So semantic inheritance principle. This also for only headed phrases. These are the main the principles we have seen: semantic complementarity principle, head feature principle, and semantic inheritance principle. One for syntax, two for semantics. And we also had valence principle. Remember, valence principle says unless otherwise specified, the valence values do not change. So if you have head complement structure, in a tree you have head and complements, and then the comps value, whatever comps value you have, is identical with the comps value of the mother node, right? What does it mean? This is not affected by any rule. If there is a head complement rule, right, then the complements will change. Otherwise, the valence remains same. Similarly, in a tree structure where you have head and specifier, then the specifier value of the headed data and the specifier value of the mother node are identical. So this is the valence principle. Valence principle says that comps values and specifier values remain unchanged between the head daughter and the mother node unless they are governed by some rule. These are the basic things which you have seen: rules, satisfaction value format tree, and principles. Now let's take an example. We'll look at a sentence: they sent us a letter. How will we construct this sentence? Let's take words first. We'll consider the word letter. The word letter, right? Letter is a word. It has syn-sem structure. The syntax is nothing but another feature structure which has three features: head, specifier, and comps. Head value of the word letter is noun, and agreement feature or AGR feature of the word letter is third singular, gender neuter. Okay, gender neuter. This is your head value. Head value of the word letter is that it's a noun with a feature structure where you have AGR, and then AGR has a feature structure which has a feature gender, and the value of gender is neuter. Then the specifier feature. The specifier feature is a list. In the list there is a determiner. Determiner has a feature structure, and determiner's feature structure has two features: AGR and count. the AGR feature of the determiner is identical with the AGR feature of the head, that is the letter, the noun. So what is the AGR feature here? That means the AGR feature is third singular, the gender neuter possibly. Right, we may not have agreement in terms of gender, but we are using it as now for the sake of other agreements later. Then count value is plus. The word letter is singular, so it needs a determiner which has a singular value. That is, you cannot have a plural determiner with the word letter. That is, you cannot have these letter. You can have only this letter. So you need count value plus. Then comps, it may have optionally a PP. That's why you have given this. Otherwise, it is empty. This is your SYN feature structure. Then semantics of the word letter. Semantics is again a feature structure which has mode, index and restriction features. Mode value is a reference because it's a noun. Then index is K. K actually refers to one instance of the word. So restriction, there is one restriction in the list, that is relation. It is a letter. And in a situation S, there is one instance which is K of the K. That K is nothing but a letter. So that K is your index. This is your SYN-SEM of the word letter. Now the word letter projects by head complement rule. Your head complement rule says head combines with a complement, and what we see here is the complements can be PP or null. In the sentence letter there is no complement, so we do not have a complement. What happens is the word combines with empty comps and becomes a nominal. Right? Becomes a nominal. Now, don't worry about 27, 28, etc. They are indices which we'll see later. What happens when it becomes a phrase? The word becomes a phrase. The syntax or SYN feature structure of the word letter, which we have seen already, which has head value, noun, AGR, etc. This, when it becomes a phrase, the head value is identical with the mother node. That is percolation. By what principle? By head feature principle. By head feature principle, the head value of the headed daughter is same as the head value of the mother node. The mother node is this now, and head value is same as that. And the specifier remains same because no rule changes the specifier value here, right? Because this is not a head specifier rule, this is a head complement rule, so the head value doesn't change. So what you have in the specifier is now determiner AGR 1. By what principle? By valence principle B. By valence principle B. Okay, that tells us the specifier value doesn't change here. It is same. Then comps value is already empty, so it's empty. And now semantics. Mode, reference, index K are identical by semantic inheritance principle. Semantics inheritance principle, mode and index value are identical of the head daughter and the mother node. Then restriction value. restriction value by semantic compositionality principle, it should be sum. There is no complement here, so there is no sum here, only whatever restriction value you have here, that comes as the restriction value of the mother node. So the word letter is both a word and a phrase. Okay, that is your nominal, which has empty comps but non-empty specifier. Non-empty specifier, that is, the specifier has a determiner AGR. Now this should combine with a specifier. The word A, it's a determiner. For the determiner, we are not giving semantics. It is very complex. We haven't done that. When we look at the semantics of determiner later, we'll see that. So now the word A has a syntax value with the head feature, which is a determiner, and it has a count plus and AGR third singular. It doesn't need any specifier, any comps, right? We haven't mentioned that. It is not necessary now. So it has a head value determiner with count plus and AGR third singular. So this is the right one, which to combine with this, right? AGR third singular gender neuter. So AGR value which is third singular, right? That's enough. We are not mentioning that. And count plus, we need a count plus. We have mentioned it here. Remember, count plus. So that's what we are going to add here. So this is the right word which can combine with the word letter. How does this combine? By head specifier rule. Now you have the letter, which is a phrase. This is a nominal. Now this is the head daughter, and this is your specifier daughter. The specifier daughter has A with count plus AGR third singular, a gender neuter. Right? I have added gender neuter and third person singular to match with this, because we haven't mentioned the word letter here, so we are giving all the details here. Now when the word A combines with the nominal letter, that is by head specifier rule, then it forms a phrase. By head feature principle, the headed daughter's head value is the head value of the mother node, right? Then the specifier becomes empty because the specifier is added here, and comps is already. So by head specifier rule, this becomes empty. Complements are already empty, so it's added just there. So head feature principle had given us the value of the head for the mother node, and then by semantic feature principle, mode and difference values are identical here. They percolate the mother node. Then the restriction value of the letter, which we have seen here, is relation letter sk, which is carried out here, reference k A, that percolates to this letter S and K, right? And we haven't seen the determinist restriction values, so we are not adding that. We have kept it empty, right? By semantic compositionality principle, the restriction value of A and restriction value of letter are put together for the restriction value of the node. So this is your noun phrase. The noun phrase is a phrase. It's saturated phrase because both specifier and complements are empty, right? So this is a well-formed tree now. How is it a well-formed tree? Because the word letter needed a optionally needed PP, so it's not necessary here. But specify, it needed specifier, that has combined here, so it has become empty. So it's, this tree satisfies the local trees. So the entire tree is a well formed tree. We have seen a letter now. Let's look at the word us. Us is a word. It's a pronoun, right? You need to look at the semantics of this. Okay. Before looking at semantics, let's look at the syntax value of us. Us is a noun, right? Pronouns are all nouns, and us has a case value accusative, and it has an AGR value non-third singular, right? It is not third person singular, so it is non-third singular. Its person value is first, number value is plural. Us is plural, right? This is your AGR feature. So you have head value, which is a noun with the feature structure case and AGR. Us doesn't need any specifier. Us doesn't need any complements. Then its semantics. Us is a noun, so mode value is reference, and it has an index value j. What is j? We'll look at below. What are its restriction values? Its restriction value is again a list. When I say us, it's a group, right? It's not single individual. So relation is group. There is a situation T in which there is a group J. J is a group. In the group, there is a speaker. In the group, there is a speaker. The speaker is L. The speaker is L. And in a situation U. Remember, this situation are different now. Okay? Because each one is a different identity, is a different element. But we are going to link these two. We are going to link these two. How are we going to link? By a relation member. In a situation V, there is a set J. In that set J, L is an instance. L is an element. What is J? J is an instance of a group. So, J is a group in which L is a member. L is a member. So, that is the semantics of us. Okay? When I say us, it is inclusive us. Inclusive meaning the speaker is included. In fact, in English, us has an inclusive I. So, I is the speaker. So, this is the semantics, semantic restriction value of us. Right? Any question here?
Sir, I have a question. So, if for a pronoun like they, will I still have a speaker member?
Yeah, speaker. There won't be any speaker there, right? We are coming to that. We'll come to that. We also have a illustration of the word they there. Okay, there is no speaker. They is the group. Speaker is not included. Speaker is not a member of that, right? When you say us, speaker is a member of that. That's the group. Okay, so this is semantics of us, and this is a word. Now this has to become a phrase. When it becomes a phrase, by head complement rule, there is no complement, so comps is there, empty. There is no, by head specifier rule, again it is empty. By head feature principle, head value and of the daughter node, head daughter node, and head value of the mother node are same. You can see 71. And by semantic inheritance principle, the mode value of the mother node and the mode value of the head daughter node, head daughter node are identical. And by semantic compositionality principle, there is only one head daughter node here. There is no complement or no restriction, so B remains. That's the restriction value, right? That is us. Now in the sentence, they sent us a letter. We have seen a letter, we have seen a letter, we have seen us as a phrase, so us a letter. Now we'll look at the word sent. Sent is a word. It has some structure, syntax. It has head. Its head feature value is verb. Okay, we are not giving any agreement or anything because it doesn't agree. Sent is non-third singular word, and there is no agreement, so we are not interested in that. Okay, and then specifier, it needs a specifier. The specifier has to be a noun phrase which needs a nominative case value, right? And sent needs two complements. Both of them are NPs with accusative case values. Okay, that is the syntax of the word sent. The semantics is sent is a verb, so it's a proposition. Mode value is proposition. It has an index value W. Restriction value send. In the situation, I is a sender, J is sendee, and K is what is sent. Okay, K is letter, sendee is us, sender is they. Okay, so this is the restriction value of the word sent, and this is a word. Now this word sent combines with complements and becomes a phrase. The two complements are us and a letter. Remember, this is ternary structure. In HPSG we don't have any tree structure as such, so we don't have any structural notions, so we are not worried about whether it is binary or ternary structures. So one complement is a letter which has accusative case, restriction value F. What is F? F is a letter's restriction value. This one, the K, that is of A and letter, and then that combines with the head daughter. When this combines, one of the complements is satisfied, so it's saturated 8 and 8. Then another complement as combines, then 7 is also saturated, so the complement's value becomes null, right? So by head complement rule, the two complements combined with the two NPs combined with head daughter send, and the comps value of the mother node becomes empty. By head feature principle, the head daughter's head value, that is verb, is identical. It is given there. Then semantics. By semantics inheritance principle, the mode and index values of the head daughter. We are not interested in the mode and index values of complements, only head daughter. Head daughter's mode and index values are proposition and W, that is inherited by the mother node. Then by semantic compositionality principle, the semantics of the restriction value of the verb, what is that? Relation send, W, sender, sendee, sent is all inherited, plus is all summed up with the restriction values of complements. So sender, the verb's restriction value, the restriction value of the pronoun as, restriction value of the NP a letter are put together. That's the sum. That becomes the restriction value of the phrase. This is an unsaturated phrase because we still have the specifier to be completed. Right? So this is an unsaturated phrase. This is actually our verb phrase. Categorically, we say this is a verb phrase. Now, by head complement rule, we have got a verb phrase. By head specifier rule, now we need to get. Before that, we have the specifier, they. They is a pronoun. 1 second. Yes. The word they is a pronoun. That is, it's a noun basically. Its head value is noun. They is nominative in case, and it has agreement non-third, singular, person third, and plural. Though the subject doesn't agree here, we just given as a word, as a lexical entry, it has this piece of structure. Then the word they doesn't need any specifiers, so empty. It doesn't need any complements, so it's empty. It's a noun, so its mode is a reference. It has an index value of I. Then restriction has a relation, only one list. It's a one member list restriction value. Relation is a group in a situation X. That group is one instance, that is I. So that is the index here. Now this is the word. This projects and gets you the phrase, right? I haven't given you the phrase. This phrase will have we have a phrase here, the same value 81, and then these two are empty, and the mode value and restriction index value are the same. Relation is also same because it doesn't combine with any specifier complements. Now the word they combines with the verb phrase, right? So we have got a letter, us, two complements, combining with the verb, becoming verb phrase. So the head value is 9 and the specifiers is 6 here, which becomes empty when it combines with the specifier, and you get the phrase. Complements is already empty, so it's empty here. Then head value, it's a verb, so this is a verb, and this is also a verb. Then you have semantics. The mode is proposition, which is from the head daughter, the verb, and index value again from the words sent, index value which comes here. Then it's a composition here. So by semantic composition principle, all the restriction values are added. Restriction value of the verb, of the two complements P and F. Then this verb phrase combines with the NP specifier. Specifier becomes empty. So head value of the mother node is head daughters, that is VP's head, that is 9, which is identical. And then by semantic inheritance principle, the semantics, the mode and index value of the head daughter of the verb phrase, that is the verb phrase, proposition W, are carried here. And then the restriction value, now restriction value of the word they, which is E, and then the verbs sent, and then complement us and the complement a letter. This is so this is a sentence now, right? And this is a well-formed structure, well-formed structural description of the sentence. They sent us a letter, and this is saturated because there are no specifiers needed and no more complements needed, and it has a meaning. It is a proposition. It's not a question, it's not a directive, right? It's a proposition in a particular situation. There's a group which sends, right? It sends to a sender and the sent. So that's the meaning of the sentence. This is the structural description of the sentence, they sent us a letter. Right? Yeah. Any questions? Any questions? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Yeah. Any questions? If you have any questions, you can ask me. Because this is how the grammar is working now. Right? You have rules, you have lexical items with the word and the structure, feature structure. Then you have principles. Then you have then you have the how they come together, words come together to form the sentence. And all words are feature structures for us. We don't use the categories like nouns, verbs, etc. because they are not we consider them only in terms of feature structures. Right? If you have any questions, you can ask me. Sneha, you were asking me yesterday something. Is Sneha there? No.
Sir, in that self-assessment that you asked, for on, you had written up and below, or upper and lower.
Yeah.
I don't know why that is.
When you say on has meaning that something on something. Right? When I say a book on the table, book is upper and the table is lower. That's the meaning. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So the book is I and the table is J. So I, J. I is upper, J is lower. And relation is on. Right. That's the meaning. That's how you get it. Prepositions have that meaning.
So for a preposition like beside, how would I say it?
Like?
Beside something, like what would I term it as?
Beside also you have side by side, right? So one precedes the other. If you
So I read left and right?
Left and right, yes.
Okay,
Or
sir.
inside and outside. Right? For example, in you have something is in and something is out. So you have that's the kind of meaning you have. So prepositions always relate two things. Though we don't call one is a complement, the other is not really a complement, but it has to be there. It's a kind of argument for it. Though in our earlier syntax course, we saw prepositions take only one complement, no specifier as such. But see, now we see that there should be there is something like a specifier. Okay.
Sir, I have a general syntax question. So I was wondering if there is a sentence like the system wants me to key in my password, then what will in be a constituent of?
The system wants me to key in.
Yeah, key in my password, or the professor wants me to hand in the assignment.
Now these are like phrasal verbs. We call in traditional grammars, we call them phrasal verbs.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So what happens is key and in go together. That forms one structure, one word. Key in or login or give in. Sometimes phrasal verbs have meanings which are different from the constituents. Like give in is surrender. The meaning is surrender. Give up or take away. Right. So we have such word things where you have to consider the entire, all the two words as one verb. So keen is as a word.
Okay, so I will tag key in as a verb, as a V.
Yes, as a V.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Anything else? Okay then. Next, actually, this is the chapter. I think how grammar works. That chapter you can read now. The same. I have taken the same examples. I didn't want to type a new example, so I copied and pasted all the trees there. So you can work on that. Maybe I will send you a self-assessment task today. Right. That we can discuss in the next class, possibly. Okay then. We'll stop here.